sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back. Let's be honest, most of us believe that love means doing more, helping more, fixing more, showing up more. But what if I told you that helping, when done from the wrong energy, isn't kindness, it's control? And what if I told you that constantly saving someone could be the very thing that's stopping them from saving themselves? I know how hard this is to hear, especially for those of us who feel deeply, who care endlessly, the ones who want to help everyone rise, even if it means breaking our own backs. But here's what I've learned this past year. Helping less doesn't mean you care less. It means you care smarter. It means you're finally choosing to support growth, not dependency. I want you to imagine someone climbing a mountain. You're watching from a distance and they stumble, they fall, they look exhausted. Your instinct? Run to them, lift them, climb for them. But that's not help. That's sabotage disguised as service. Because while your hands are noble, your actions whisper a message they'll never forget. You can't do this without me. We think we're offering strength, but what we're actually giving is doubt. We think we're building connection, but what we're actually feeding is helplessness. Let that sink in. I've been that person, the fixer, the one who shows up with solutions before the other person even finishes their sentence. I thought I was being noble, but in truth, I was stealing something sacred from them, their ability to believe in themselves. Real love is not about rescuing. It's about reminding someone they are still capable, still worthy, still powerful even in their lowest moments. Real support says, I see you struggling, and I trust that you have what it takes to get through this. I'm here beside you, not in front of you, blocking the path. There's a powerful concept in psychology called learned helplessness. It's what happens when people are rescued so often, they stop trying altogether. Why bother trying if someone else is always going to fix it? Why fight for yourself if someone else keeps fighting for you? That's what constant helping does. It rewires the brain to believe it's powerless. And here's the hard part. We don't even realize we're doing it. We think we're just being there. We think we're just helping, but we're teaching them to shrink, to defer, to depend. Think of it this way. Would you go to the gym with a friend and lift all their weights for them? Of course not. That would defeat the purpose. You might spot them, you might encourage them, but the work, that's theirs to do. So why, when it comes to emotional growth, spiritual growth, personal transformation, do we try to carry the whole load? You can't transfer your discipline into someone else's desire. You can't inject someone with your motivation. You can't hand over your mindset like a pair of shoes. They have to build it. They have to bleed for it. They have to choose it. And your job is to remind them with grace and space that they can. This lesson hit me hard this year. There was someone close to me going through a tough time. Every part of me wanted to intervene, to offer advice, to outline a 12-step plan for how to get out of the storm. But for once, I didn't. He paused. I stayed present, but I stayed back. And slowly, I watched them reach inside themselves. I watched them access a power they didn't even know they had. I watched them rise, not because I lifted them, but because they discovered they could. That moment changed everything. I realized the greatest gift you can give someone is not your wisdom. It's your belief in their own. You don't build warriors by shielding them from the battle. You build warriors by reminding them they have what it takes to fight. And maybe, just maybe, your overhelping isn't about them at all. Maybe it's about your need to be needed, your fear of watching someone struggle, your discomfort with someone else's chaos. But hear me when I say this. People don't grow from comfort. They grow from clarity, from challenge, from conscious support that says, I trust you enough to let you try. Helping is beautiful when it's not controlling. Support is sacred when it's not suffocating. Love is healing when it's not rescuing. Here's the truth. You can be a safe space for someone without being their safety net. You can hold their hand without carrying their weight. You can be present without fixing the pain, because fixing is ego. Witnessing is love. So the next time you feel the urge to jump in, Ask yourself, am I helping because they truly need me or because I need to feel needed? That question, it'll change your life. Let me leave you with this. What if stepping back is the most powerful step forward for both of you? What if your silence is the doorway to their strength? What if your presence, not your protection, is what heals? Drop your answer in the comments. If this hit you, hit the like button. And if you know someone who's been overhelping, send this to them with love, not judgment. And thank you truly for being here on this journey of growth. Your energy matters. Your presence matters. I'm honored to walk this path with you. Let's keep going, EA. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align, you say no to yourself. Let's get uncomfortable for a second. When was the last time you said yes and felt that subtle sting in your chest? That moment where your mouth agreed, but your soul whispered, why did I do that? We've all been there. You smile, you nod, you offer your time, your energy, your presence, all while your inner world tightens. Because you didn't want to disappoint them. Because you were afraid of seeming selfish. Because saying no felt dangerous. But here's the truth. I've learned the hard way this year. Saying no doesn't make you cruel. It makes you clear. We live in a culture that rewards people pleasing and punishes boundaries. We've been taught that yes keeps relationships alive, that saying no is rejection. But the reality is this. A fake yes is a slow betrayal. An honest no is a radical act of self-respect. Let me say that again. A fake yes is a slow betrayal of your values, of your peace, of your energy. That smile you force, that commitment you make out of guilt, that favor you agree to just to keep the peace, they add up. And over time, they don't just erode your schedule, they erode you. Saying no is a muscle. And like any muscle, if you don't use it, it weakens. You start saying yes out of obligation. Yes to events you don't want to attend. Yes to work you don't have capacity for. Yes to people who drain you, not feed you. And before you know it, your life becomes a reflection of everyone else's desires, not your own. Your calendar is full, but your heart is empty. Your days are busy, but your spirit is restless. That's what happens when we keep betraying ourselves with polite compliance. There's a biological reason this feels so hard. Saying no triggers stress in the brain. Cortisol floods your system. You feel guilt, anxiety, discomfort. Why? Because to the ancient part of your brain, rejection meant exile. Thousands of years ago, being cast out from the tribe meant death. So we cling, we bend, we nod, we say yes, not because we want to, but because we're wired to survive. But here's the shift. You're not living in a tribe anymore. You're building a life, and that life requires boundaries. I remember a moment this past year that tested this lesson. I was at a cafe with a close friend. They were opening up, really opening up. Raw emotion, pain, a conversation that needed depth and presence. And then someone walked up, a kind stranger, a fan. They asked for a photo. And for a split second, I hesitated. My old habit said, say yes. But something deeper said, be here, stay here. So I gently said, I'd love to, but can I connect with you in a few minutes? I just want to stay fully present right now. They smiled, nodded, walked away. And in that moment, I saw the look on my friend's face. Gratitude, relief, validation. Because I didn't just say no to the request. I said yes to being present. That's the power of alignment. We think saying yes builds connection, but it's the aligned no that builds respect. Research confirms this. Psychologists have found that people who express clear boundaries are perceived as more trustworthy and more emotionally healthy. Why? Because when your no is real, people start to trust your yes. And here's another truth. When you say yes out of guilt, you end up feeling resentment. You say yes to your friend who asks for another favor, but inside, you're already annoyed. You say yes to working late again, but the bitterness builds like a storm. That resentment, it leaks into your tone, into your body language, into your energy. Suddenly, Your yes isn't an act of love. It's a weight, a burden, a fracture in the relationship. One that could have been avoided with a kind, honest no. Let me tell you about a woman my mum worked with. She was the yes woman of her community. Every birthday, every family emergency, every school project. If someone needed something, she said yes. But one day, she broke. Literally, her body gave out. Stress turned into illness. And she realized she had spent decades saying yes to everyone and no to herself. The turning point? Her daughter asked her again to babysit her grandchildren. But this time, instead of folding, she said, "No, not today. I need to rest." Her daughter was shocked, upset, guilt-tripping. But guess what? The world didn't end. The kids were fine. And for the first time in her adult life, she took a walk alone. She read a book, she slept, she breathed, and weeks later, her daughter came back and said, "You've never said no to me before. You deserve to." That no, it didn't destroy the relationship. It redefined it. Here's what we forget. Every time you say yes to something you don't want, you teach people that your needs come last. But every time you say no with grace, you teach them something else. You teach them that your time matters, that your peace matters, that you matter. And when you model that, they start doing the same. Boundaries don't just protect you. They elevate everyone around you. I want to give you a tool right now. Try saying no like this. Not right now, but thank you. I want to support you, but I need to protect my energy today. I can't commit to that, but I care about you. This isn't in alignment for me right now. You don't owe long explanations. You don't need to justify your peace. No is a full sentence. And it's also a declaration that says, I refuse to abandon myself just to keep the peace. So the next time someone asks for your yes, pause and ask yourself, is this coming from alignment or from fear? If it's alignment, give generously. If it's fear, say no with grace. Because every honest no creates space for your most powerful yes, and that's where your true life begins. The most valuable thing you spend every day isn't money. It's your attention. If I asked you to open your banking app right now, you'd probably know how much is in there. You'd know what came in, what went out, what you spent on food, bills, or even that impulse buy last week. But if I asked you to audit your attention, where your focus went today, could you do it? Who or what did you give it to? What thoughts did you feed with your focus? What distractions robbed you blind while you weren't looking? This is the painful truth I had to face this past year. Your attention is your true currency. And most of us are bankrupt. See, people talk a lot about time management, but very few talk about attention management. And here's the kicker, you can waste time and still survive. But when you waste attention, you lose clarity. You lose momentum. You lose the power to direct your life because attention isn't passive. It's an investment and it always has a return, positive or negative. Let me take you back a few years. I started using TikTok just to stay connected, to see what the trends were, to explore creativity. But soon I noticed something shifting. I couldn't read books like I used to. I couldn't finish long form articles without clicking away. My brain started craving quick hits, quick laughs, quick fixes, 8 seconds of joy, 12 seconds of noise, 15 seconds of comparison. And then I realized I wasn't just scrolling. I was spending my attention and my peace on things that gave me nothing in return. Neuroscience calls attention a limited resource. Every time you focus on something, a post, a notification, a conversation, you spend mental energy. Now here's the catch. Unlike money, you can't earn attention back. There's no refund policy. What you give attention to today becomes part of who you are tomorrow. Let that sink in. Think about it like this. Your attention is a bank account. You wake up every day with a set balance. Let's say you've got 100 units of attention. Now look at where it goes. 15 units wasted on worrying about other people's opinions, 20 units on scrolling social media, and comparing your life 10 units on drama. You can't control 25 units chasing things that don't even align with your values. 5 units on your actual goals, 5 units on your peace, 5 on your partner, 5 on your growth, and barely anything on you. No wonder you feel broke, not financially, mentally. This is what I call attention poverty. It's not about how many hours you have, it's about how many focused hours you give to what truly matters. Because you can be busy all day and still feel unfulfilled. Why? Because you spent your attention on noise, not meaning you didn't invest in your peace. You didn't deposit into your goals. You didn't nurture your mind, your body, your soul. And now you're wondering why you feel depleted. Let me say something that might sting a little. If you're constantly distracted, you're not just losing time, you're losing yourself. Because attention is how you build identity. What you focus on is what grows. Give your attention to fear, you'll live in anxiety. Give your attention to what's missing, you'll feel lack. Give your attention to other people's lives, you'll lose sight of your own. But give it to growth, to healing, to truth, to purpose, you'll feel rich even before anything material shifts. A billionaire can go bankrupt, but a focused mind can rebuild an empire. That's why cognitive psychologists say attentional control is a better predictor of success than IQ. Because intelligence without focus is wasted potential. But clarity plus consistent focus, that's unstoppable. So how do we take back our attention? Let me share 3 steps that changed everything for me. 1, audit your attention daily. Start asking yourself at the end of each day, where did I spend my attention today? What did I invest in? If you wouldn't spend your money on it, why are you spending your attention on it? Would you hand $100 to someone who doesn't care about you? Then why give them your mental energy? 2, set intentional attention windows. Before you pick up your phone, ask, what am I here for? Are you using your device, or is your device using you? Set timers, set boundaries. Protect your mornings and evenings like sacred space, because the world will pull at your attention like gravity unless you anchor it. 3, reinvest where it matters. Every day, make deposits into stillness, into deep work, into real connection, into reading, reflection, silence. Let your mind detox from the chaos. Let your heart breathe again. You'll be amazed at what returns when your attention comes home. Look, I know this isn't easy. We live in a world where attention is the most fought over commodity. Tech companies hire neuroscientists to capture it. Marketers design apps to hijack it. But you get to reclaim it. You get to decide what deserves your gaze, your energy, your awareness. Because what you give your attention to, you become. Let me ask you something. What have you been giving your attention to that's not giving life back to you? It might be a person, a habit, a platform, a belief. Whatever it is, you owe it to yourself to reevaluate, to unplug, to unfollow, to unhook. Because your attention isn't free, it's sacred. So today, treat your attention like your most precious asset. Guard it, invest it, grow it, and watch how your peace, your clarity, your identity start compounding. You don't need more time. You need more intention. And it all starts with one choice: to pay attention to what really matters. You can win the world and still lose yourself. Let that sit with you. Because for years, we've been told the formula for happiness is simple: achieve more, earn more, win more. But what happens when you reach the top and it still feels hollow? What happens when the applause fades, the champagne dries, and all you're left with is the question, why doesn't this feel like success? This past year, I learned something that changed everything. Achievement means nothing without alignment. Success that's out of sync with your soul will always feel like failure. Let me tell you a story. I was speaking at a leadership summit, a packed auditorium, thousands of people, standing ovation, smiles, selfies, gratitude. From the outside, it looked like a dream. But as I sat alone in my hotel room that night, something felt off. Not wrong, just disconnected. I wasn't tired. I wasn't ungrateful. I was just misaligned. Because even though I had spoken to the crowd, I hadn't spoken from my truth. I had delivered value, but not from depth. I had said the right things, but they weren't the realest things. And that's when it hit me. Success is not about what you gain. It's about how deeply it aligns with who you are. You see, you can check every box and still feel empty. A D. The title, DA. The income, dot the house. In the relationship, the recognition, and yet your spirit whispers, this isn't it. Why? Because achievement is external, but alignment is internal. And without the second, the first will always feel fragile. Here's what psychology shows us. When your actions don't reflect your values, your brain experiences dissonance. That's internal conflict, a constant tug of war. You value creativity, but your job rewards only efficiency. You value presence, but your schedule is flooded. You value authenticity, but you perform to please. That gap, that tension, it doesn't just steal your peace, it burns you out from the inside. Most people think burnout comes from doing too much. But here's the real cause. Burnout comes from doing too little of what makes you come alive. You're not exhausted because you're overworking. You're exhausted because you're underaligned. You're tired not because you've climbed too far, but because you climbed a mountain that wasn't yours. And the higher you go on the wrong mountain, the further you feel from yourself. This year, I had to ask myself a confronting question. Am I chasing a version of success that the world applauds, but my soul rejects? Because there's a version of success that looks good in photos. It fits into captions, it makes headlines. But then there's a quieter, truer version. The one that feels like peace when you close your eyes. The one that doesn't need validation. The one that says, I'm proud of who I am, even when no one's watching. That's the success I want to teach you to pursue. Here's the paradox most people miss. You become successful by what you get, but you become happy by what you're willing to let go of. Let that land. Getting more may elevate your lifestyle, but losing what doesn't serve you, that elevates your life. You get the job and you feel successful, but you release envy and you feel peace. You get the title and you feel proud, but you release ego and you feel free. Happiness isn't found in the next possession. It's found in the next layer you're willing to shed. I used to hear people say, money doesn't buy happiness. And like many of you, I questioned it because I've seen people with wealth who seem joyful, and I've seen people with nothing who radiate peace. So what's the difference? It's not what they have. It's what they're no longer enslaved by. A rich person consumed by envy will always feel poor. A powerful person ruled by ego will always feel small. But someone who has let go of envy and ego, they can live in any situation and still feel whole. Here's a metaphor I use in my own life. I call it seeds and weeds. Alignment is a garden. The seeds are your values, authenticity, love, peace, discipline. But even when you plant good seeds, weeds grow. The weeds are ego, comparison, greed, approval seeking. If you don't actively pull them out, they will choke the life out of your garden. And the worst part, from a distance, weeds look like growth. They rise fast, they cover ground, but they're not fruitful, they're not sustainable. Only aligned seeds produce lasting impact. Here's what I want you to do today. Step 1. Audite your achievements. Write down your 3 biggest wins in the past year. Now ask, do these actually reflect who I am or just what the world rewards? If they don't align, you're not failing, you're just waking up. Clarity is the first step to change. Step 2, name your core values. What do you stand for? What matters more than recognition? Is it presence, creativity, spirituality, love, whatever it is, write it down. Step 3, match your calendar to your core. Look at how you spend your time. Does your schedule reflect your soul? If not, start small. 1 hour a day in alignment is better than 10 hours chasing someone else's dream. Here's something I say often. Your calling isn't found in noise. It's found in alignment. When your actions match your values, you don't need to chase confidence. It rises naturally. You don't need to prove yourself. You know yourself. You don't need applause because inner peace is louder than praise. So today, I want to challenge you. What are you chasing that's not truly yours? What are you achieving that doesn't truly fulfill you? You don't need to burn it all down. You just need to realign, shift one step closer to your truth, 1 degree toward your purpose, 1 decision away from peace. Because the goal isn't to just go far. The goal is to go in the right direction. And that direction, it starts with alignment. The people who trigger you are often your greatest teachers. Let's talk about a truth most of us would rather avoid. You're not just frustrated with people, you're frustrated through them. Every irritation, every trigger, every person who gets under your skin, they're not just pushing your buttons, they're holding up a mirror. And the reflection you see, that's the part of yourself you haven't made peace with yet. I didn't want to believe this at first either. It's easier to say they're the problem, they're selfish, they're annoying, they're too much. But this past year taught me something uncomfortable and transformative. The people who frustrate you reveal the parts of yourself you've ignored, rejected, or buried. Let me break it down for you. Psychologists call this projective identification. It means the things we criticize in others often reflect something unhealed in us. The control freak boss? Maybe it's showing you how uncomfortable you are with uncertainty. The overly emotional friend? Maybe it's reminding you of the emotions you suppress. The arrogant coworker? Maybe they mirror your hidden desire to feel worthy without having to constantly prove it. It's not always about them. It's about what they activate in you. This is hard, I know, because it feels unfair. Why should I have to do the inner work when they're the one being rude, toxic, or selfish? But here's the truth. You can't control other people. You can only clean the lenses you see them through. And once you do that, something powerful happens. You stop reacting blindly. You start responding wisely. You reclaim your energy. You break the cycle. Let me tell you about a time I got deeply triggered. I was collaborating with someone on a project, incredibly talented, wildly creative, but also infuriating. They missed deadlines, ignored my ideas, took over conversations. And every time we interacted, I'd feel this tightness in my chest, this urge to correct them. At first, I told myself, they're just disrespectful, they don't value teamwork. But one night, while journaling, I asked myself the uncomfortable question, why does this bother me so much? And the answer hit like a wave, because I had spent years hiding my voice, because I used to silence my ideas to please others, because watching someone speak so freely, even if imperfectly, reminded me of how long I stayed silent. This wasn't about them. It was about a wound in me that still needed healing. Triggers are messengers. They're not enemies, they're invitations. Every time you feel a strong emotional reaction, ask, what part of me is being touched right now? What belief is being threatened? What insecurity is being exposed? Because underneath your frustration is always something deeper. Jealousy reveals what you think you lack. Anger shows where your boundaries are crossed or unclear. Defensiveness points to an unresolved fear. Irritation often masks exhaustion or emotional overwhelm. Sadness, it signals what you value most. Your reactions are revelations. Your emotions are breadcrumbs guiding you inward. Let's flip the script for a moment. Think of someone who deeply frustrates you. Not just mildly annoys you, but truly gets under your skin. Now ask yourself, what is this person showing me about me? Is it my fear of not being heard? Is it my guilt for wanting rest? Is it my need to be perfect? Is it my discomfort with saying no? Suddenly the frustration becomes a flashlight. It reveals your hidden programming, your childhood patterns, your emotional blind spots. And once you see it, you can start to heal it. One of the biggest breakthroughs I've ever had came when I realized this. The people who frustrate me the most often reflect the parts of me I haven't fully accepted, not because I am like them, but because I fear being like them, or because I've denied those traits in myself for so long. And the moment I stop trying to fix them, I begin the real work, fixing my relationship to those parts of me. This isn't about excusing bad behavior. This isn't about tolerating toxicity. Some people are harmful. Some people are draining. Set boundaries. Walk away when necessary. But even as you do, ask, what can this moment teach me about myself? Because otherwise, you'll leave the relationship, but take the pain with you into the next one. You'll quit the job, but carry the resentment to the next office. You'll end the friendship, but relive the trigger with someone new. Life keeps repeating the lesson until you finally pause and say, okay, I'm ready to learn this. So here's what I want you to try. Step 1, name the trigger. Next time you feel that emotional spike, pause. Literally say, I'm feeling frustrated, jealous, angry. Step 2, get curious, not critical. Ask, what is this showing me about me? Turn the finger inward, not in blame, but in bravery. Step 3, practice mirror forgiveness. Say to yourself, I forgive myself for the times I acted like that. I was doing the best I could. Or I forgive myself for suppressing that part of me. When you heal the part that's been hurt, the trigger starts to dissolve. Here's something that changed my life. Not every annoying person needs to be removed. Some need to be understood, because understanding isn't agreement, it's expansion, it's maturity, it's growth. And the more you understand your reactions, the more you rise above them. So the next time someone frustrates you, ask, what are they here to teach me? Not about the world, not about them, but about you. Because once you learn the lesson, they lose the power to control your peace. And that's the moment you reclaim your life. People may forget what you said. They may forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. You've heard that quote before. It sounds poetic, but let me tell you something. It's not just poetic. It's profoundly true. And this past year, I saw it with my own eyes. I was at a 70th birthday celebration, a beautiful event honoring a dear family friend. The room was filled with people he had known for decades, colleagues, neighbors, friends, family. And you know what happened? No one stood up and talked about how many awards he won. No one listed his career milestones. No one celebrated his bank balance, his titles, or his status. They told stories of moments, of memories, of kindness. One person said, he drove across town when my dad passed away just to sit with me in silence. Another said, she remembered my daughter's name every time, even when no one else did. Another shared, he never judged me, even when I messed up. He just listened. Story after story, not about success, but about softness, not about brilliance, but about presence, not about achievement, but about how he made them feel. And in that moment, it hit me. Kindness is legacy, not the kind you post on social media, not the kind that gets written in bios, but the kind that gets etched into hearts and never leaves. We spend so much of our life chasing achievement, wanting to be seen, to be applauded, to be admired for our output. But here's the irony. Achievement makes you impressive. Kindness makes you unforgettable. You know what behavioral science tells us? That emotional memory outlasts factual memory. People forget numbers, they forget dates, they forget your resume, but they don't forget the moment you held space when they were breaking. They don't forget the gentle tone when you could have snapped. They don't forget the extra 2 minutes you stayed when they thought they were alone. That's what people hold on to. Not your wins, but your warmth. And here's where it gets deep. We're taught to lead with power, to climb, to conquer. But when life falls apart, and it will, the people who stay by your side, they're not there because you were successful. They're there because you were kind, because you remembered birthdays, because you listened without trying to fix, because you forgave, because you saw them. Let me tell you something personal. A few years ago, I was rushing through my schedule, speaking events, interviews, nonstop motion. And in that whirlwind, I remember this one moment. I was walking out of a venue, exhausted, running late, thinking about the next thing. And a young man approached me, nervous. He said, "Jay, you spoke at my school 4 years ago. You probably don't remember me, but when I was going through a really tough time, you stayed after and asked me if I was okay. I just wanted you to know that changed everything for me." I was speechless. I had forgotten the moment, but he never did. That's the thing about kindness. You don't always remember giving it, but they never forget receiving it. And sometimes the smallest act to you is the biggest act to them. A compliment, a text, a check-in, a pause, a smile. You may think it's ordinary, but to someone carrying a silent battle, it's everything. Let's be real. You won't always be the smartest person in the room. You won't always be the most accomplished. You won't always win every race, but you can always choose kindness. That's your power. That's your legacy. So let me ask you a few hard questions. When was the last time you led with compassion instead of criticism? When was the last time you stayed present, not just physically, but emotionally when someone was speaking? When was the last time you did something for someone with no expectation of return? We spend so much time managing our image, but the people who really know us, they remember the energy we bring into the room, not the accolades we carry. Here's the truth. No one at your funeral is going to read your LinkedIn bio. No one's going to quote your income. They're going to share how you made them feel safe, how you made them feel seen, how you made them feel valued when they felt invisible. That's the real resume. And you're writing it every single day with every interaction. I want you to imagine something. 10 years from now, someone tells a story about you. What do you want them to say? Not about your career, but about your character. Do you want them to say, they were powerful, they were impressive, they were always ahead? Or do you want them to say, they made me feel like I mattered. They never made me feel less than. They showed up when no one else did. Because that's what lives on. That's what heals. That's what spreads. That's what echoes beyond this lifetime. And here's the paradox. The people who need your kindness the most often don't ask for it. They may act cold. They may push you away. They may mask their pain with pride. But don't let that fool you. Be kind anyway. Not because they earned it, but because you choose to be someone who leads with love, not ego. So today, I want you to do this. Step 1, reach out. Message one person you haven't spoken to in a while, not with an agenda, not to fix, just to say, I see you. Step 2, pause before reacting. The next time someone frustrates you, breathe. Respond with patience, not pettiness. Step 3, practice micro kindness. Hold the door, say thank you, let someone go first. Smile with your eyes. The small stuff, it sticks. Because the people around you may not remember your words, but they'll remember your energy. In the end, your legacy won't be built on trophies. It'll be built on tiny moments of tenderness. And when people sit in a room years from now and speak your name, they won't talk about what you achieved. They'll talk about how your kindness made the world feel a little softer, a little safer, a little more human, and that's worth more than anything success could ever buy. If you want to change someone's mind, start by holding their heart. This lesson hit me hard because for a long time, I thought change came from the right words, the perfect argument, the logical correction, the well-placed advice. But this past year reminded me of a deeper truth. People don't transform because you lecture them. They transform when they feel seen. You can give the best advice in the world, but if someone doesn't feel understood, your wisdom will bounce off the walls of their mind and never touch their heart. Think about it. How many times have you tried to help someone by fixing them? You pointed out their blind spots. You tried to tell them what they should do. You offered truth, but it was laced with frustration, urgency, maybe even superiority. And how did they respond? Walls up, ego flared, tension rising. Not because your insight was wrong, but because your approach made them feel wrong. Let's bring this closer to home. We've all done it, especially with the people we love most. We correct them before we connect with them. We jump in with solutions before we've sat in their suffering. We try to fix when what they really need is to feel felt. But here's what I've learned. You don't have to agree with someone to understand them. You just have to listen long enough to stop judging and start feeling. Let me tell you a story. A few months ago, a friend of mine was going through a toxic breakup. She kept going back, kept ignoring red flags, kept justifying the pain. Every part of me wanted to say, you deserve better. You need to leave. Can't you see what this is doing to you? But I paused and I asked instead, what does being with him give you that you feel you can't give yourself? She cried. No one had asked her that. They'd all judged, criticized, lectured. But in that moment, she didn't need correction. She needed compassion. That conversation didn't just shift her, it shifted me. I realized that understanding isn't soft. It's not weakness. It's not passivity. It's wisdom in its highest form. Because to truly understand someone, you have to let go of your need to be right. You have to let go of your ego's need to rescue, advise, and win. You have to trade in performance for presence. And presence, real presence, is healing in a way. Correction never will be. There's a reason therapy works. Not because the therapist has all the answers, but because for the first time in someone's life, they feel safe to be seen. No interruption, no judgment, no you shoulds. Just space, just validation, just understanding. And from that soil, people start to grow, not because they're told to, but because they're finally allowed to. Let me ask you something. When's the last time you made someone feel truly understood, not agreed with, not fixed, not advised, but heard? When's the last time you said, I don't know exactly what you're going through, but I want to understand? When's the last time you sat in someone's pain without rushing to lift them out? Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Here's what I've noticed. We give strangers our patience, but we give our partners our short fuse. We give clients our curiosity, but we give loved ones our assumptions. We listen to coworkers politely, but we interrupt our friends aggressively. Why? Because we take familiarity for granted, but the closer someone is to you, the more intentional your listening needs to become. Because when you stop listening, you stop loving. Here's something I want you to remember forever. Connection is built in the pause, not in the response. It's in the breath between their sentence and your answer. It's in the silence where you choose to lean in rather than react. It's in the moment where you say, tell me more. I want to understand why this matters to you. That pause, that's where relationships are rebuilt. That's where trust grows. That's where healing happens. I remember once telling a couple in therapy, you don't have a communication problem. You have a comprehension problem. You keep talking, but you're not hearing. You keep advising, but you're not feeling. And that's why the fights keep looping. That's why the wounds stay unhealed. Because words don't fix what empathy needs to mend. So what does this look like in your real life? Step 1, replace why did you with what made you feel. Why did you do that? Sounds like blame. What made you feel that way? Invites depth. Step 2, reflect back what you hear. So what I'm hearing is, you feel like I wasn't present when you needed me. Is that right? Even if you're not 100% right, the effort to understand builds connection. Step 3, delay your advice. Before you say you should, pause and ask, would you like support right now or just someone to listen? Sometimes people don't need a solution. They just need a witness. Here's the deepest truth of all. People don't change when they're corrected. They change when they feel safe enough to change themselves. And that safety, that's your gift to give. You become a space where people soften, where they set down their armor, where they stop defending and start revealing. And in that sacred space of understanding, transformation begins. So today I challenge you, who in your life needs your understanding more than your instruction? Maybe it's your partner, maybe it's your child, maybe it's your friend or yourself. Let go of being right. Let go of trying to fix and just be there fully, gently, openly. Because when someone feels understood, you don't just change them, you change the relationship, you change the energy, you change the future. We don't remember all of it. We remember the peak and we remember the end. If you've ever wondered why one bad goodbye can ruin a beautiful relationship, why a single painful ending can eclipse years of joy, it's not just emotion, it's psychology. In fact, Nobel Prize winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman gave us a principle that changed how I see every relationship, every journey, every season of life. The peak end rule. It says this: we don't remember the full experience of something. We remember two moments, the peak, the most emotionally intense point, and the end. Everything else, it fades. Let me give you an example. In one of Kahneman's experiments, participants were asked to place their hand in painfully cold water for 60 seconds. Then again, in a second trial, same 60 seconds, but with an additional 30 seconds, slightly warmer. Logically, that second trial should have been worse. Longer exposure equal more pain, right? But guess what? Most people preferred the second trial because the ending felt better. That's how our minds work. We don't remember how long the pain lasted. We remember how it ended. And that simple truth changes everything. It explains why a single unkind comment at the end of a friendship overshadows years of laughter. A rushed, cold farewell stains an otherwise beautiful vacation. A breakup handled poorly erases the magic of the love that came before. It also explains why a tender goodbye can redeem decades of distance. One final act of kindness can heal a lifetime of pain. A dignified ending can preserve the dignity of everything that came before, because we carry endings in our bones, not just in our memory, but in our story. This past year, I sat with someone who was navigating a painful divorce. She said to me, "I don't know why I'm struggling. The relationship had been over for years, but it's how he ended it. It was so cold, so sudden. It made me feel like I never mattered." She wasn't mourning the marriage. She was mourning the ending. Because we don't always grieve what happened, we grieve how it ended. So why does this matter? Because many of us live without intention at the end of things. We let anger dictate our farewells. We let pride block our closure. We leave messes where there could have been meaning. But the way we end is the way we're remembered. And endings aren't just about people, they're about everything. How you leave a job, how you say goodbye to a city, how you close a conversation, how you end your day. Every ending is an imprint. Every closing is a conclusion that echoes far beyond the moment itself. Let me ask you something. What ending in your life is still haunting you, not because it ended, but because it ended wrong? And maybe more importantly, what current situation are you about to walk away from, and how can you end it with integrity, not impulse? This isn't about holding on to what no longer serves you. It's about releasing it well, releasing it with grace. Because peace isn't just found in how things begin, it's found in how you choose to end them. You know what I found? Endings reveal more about us than beginnings ever do. Beginnings are full of charm, energy, promise. But endings, they require character. They require clarity. They require courage. Anyone can start strong, but it takes someone with real emotional maturity to close a chapter with intention. Think about this in your work life. People may not remember every presentation you gave, but they'll remember how you left the company. Did you leave with honor? Did you leave with appreciation? Or did you leave with bitterness and blame? How you exit creates your emotional legacy. And what about your friendships? We often let them fade without closure. Ghosting, distancing, disappearing. But imagine the power of saying, "Hey, I just want to say thank you. We may not walk the same path anymore, but I'm grateful for the part you played in my story." That ending, that changes everything. Here's the challenge. Most of us avoid endings. We don't like closure because it feels final. It feels emotional. It forces us to confront what we've been avoiding. But without closure, you carry emotional clutter. And clutter blocks peace. It blocks presence. It blocks new beginnings. You can't start fresh if you're still holding emotional debris from unresolved endings. So how do we make peace with our endings? Step 1. Reflect on unfinished closures. Ask, what relationships, roles, or seasons did I walk away from without intention? Step 2. Send one message. Write to someone, even if they never respond. Say what you never got to say. Not to rekindle, but to release. Step 3. Design better endings going forward. Next time you leave a job, relationship, city, or even a conversation, leave it better than you found it. Let kindness be the final note. Here's a simple practice I use. At the end of the day, I ask myself, did I end this day in a way I'll be proud of tomorrow? If the answer is no, I give myself 5 minutes of silence to reflect, to forgive, to realign. Because how you end your day affects how you begin the next one. Let me leave you with this. Life isn't measured by how many days you live. It's measured by the moments you remember. And the moments we remember most are how things peaked and how they ended. So make your endings count. Whether it's a project, a relationship, a conversation, a season of life, end with gratitude, end with clarity, end with love. Because when you learn how to end well, you don't just create closure, you create peace. What you refuse to face will eventually shape you. Let that land for a moment. You don't repeat what you understand. You don't repeat what you heal. You repeat what you avoid. And until you stop running from the patterns that sabotage your peace, they will keep returning dressed as new jobs, new partners, new friendships, new seasons. But underneath the surface, it's the same lesson in disguise. I've seen this over and over again, not just in others, but in myself. We tell ourselves, this time will be different. This person is different. This situation will finally make me happy. But the truth is, nothing changes if you don't. You can move cities, change jobs, change relationships. But if the inner wound is still unhealed, you'll bleed in every new place you land. Think of your life like a house. If there's a leak in the roof and you keep mopping the floor, you might feel like you're doing something productive, but the water keeps returning. Why? Because you never fix the source. That's how most of us live. We manage symptoms. We clean the mess. We patch the pain, but we never repair the root. There's a quote I love that says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. It's not fate. It's not bad luck. It's not the universe punishing you. It's simply an unhealed story trying to get your attention again and again and again. So let me ask you something. What patterns in your life keep repeating, even though you swore you were done with them? Is it the way you shut down when things get emotional? Is it chasing people who don't choose you back? Is it overcommitting until you burn out again? Is it doubting your worth the moment things get hard? Whatever it is, it's not weakness. It's a wound. And wounds don't need judgment. They need repair. I'll be honest with you. For a long time, I kept falling into the same dynamic in relationships. Giving too much, trying to earn love, confusing being needed with being valued. And every time it ended, I'd think, I just need to find the right person. But eventually, I realized the truth. It wasn't about finding the right person. It was about becoming the person who no longer needed to repeat that story. That took work. It took silence. It took therapy. It took humility. But most of all, it took a decision to stop blaming and start owning. Here's what I've learned. Patterns don't disappear with time. They disappear with truth. And truth is uncomfortable. It calls you out. It holds up a mirror. It doesn't let you escape into blame. But that discomfort, that's the birthplace of freedom. Because once you see it, you can choose something different. Let me walk you through something I call the 5 R's of repair, a process I've used with myself and with people I coach. 1, recognize the pattern. What's showing up again and again in your life? Don't sugarcoat it. Name it. Is it self-sabotage, people-pleasing, avoidance, emotional shutdown? Say it out loud, because clarity creates power. 2, reflect on the root. Ask yourself, where did this start? What was the first memory I have of feeling this way? Most patterns are planted in childhood in moments where you didn't feel safe, seen, or enough. You're not broken, you were just programmed. And the beautiful part, what was programmed can be reprogrammed. 3, reframe the story. Maybe you were told you're only lovable when you perform. Maybe you learned that vulnerability leads to rejection, but those were someone else's truths projected onto you. Now ask, what's a more empowering belief I can live from? Example, old belief. If I say no, people will leave. New belief, when I say no, I honor myself and attract people who respect me. 4, rehearse the shift. Don't wait until you're in crisis to practice new behaviors. Start in small moments. If your pattern is silence, speak up in a low-stakes situation. If it's overgiving, set a tiny boundary this week. If it's self-doubt, write down 1 win every night before bed. Healing is not one big leap, it's tiny, intentional repetitions that rewire your nervous system. 5, reinforce with accountability. You can't do this alone. Whether it's a coach, a therapist, or a trusted friend, share the pattern. Share your plan. Ask them to reflect back when you slip, because the ego can't heal what it hides. But when you bring it into the light, shame loses its grip. Now, let me say something that might be hard to hear, but necessary. Your trauma wasn't your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. That doesn't mean you deserved what happened. It means you deserve to be free from it. And that only happens when you stop outsourcing your growth and start owning your transformation. The life you want doesn't exist in a different city, or a different job, or a different person. It exists on the other side of the pattern you refuse to repair. So stop looking outward, start looking inward, because when you heal the root, you break the loop. Let me leave you with this. What are you still calling bad luck? That might actually be an unhealed lesson on repeat. This isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. It's about recognizing that repeating isn't failure, it's just feedback. And feedback is a gift. It means life hasn't given up on you. It's still trying to teach you, to free you, to grow you. And the moment you choose repair over repetition, that's the moment you stop surviving and start evolving. You can't become your future self by staying loyal to your past identity. We all want change. We want better relationships. We want more peace, more purpose, more freedom. We say things like, I'm ready to level up. I want a new season. I'm manifesting my next chapter. But here's the raw truth that most people aren't willing to face. Your next level of life will demand a new version of you, not a tweaked version, not a slightly improved model, a rebuilt you, a restructured you, recommitted you. And that means something in you has to die. I know that sounds harsh, but hear me out. Transformation isn't about doing more. It's about becoming different. You don't just upgrade your habits. You outgrow your patterns. You release identities that once kept you safe but are now keeping you small. Because every time you hit a wall in life, it's not just resistance. It's often a reflection of the version of you that's no longer fit to carry your future. You're not being punished. You're being invited to evolve, invited to release the roles you've outgrown. Here's what I mean. You can't bring indecision into your next level. You can't bring procrastination or self-doubt or old stories of, I'm not enough. That version of you, the one who avoids conflict, says yes out of guilt, seeks validation, stays quiet to keep the peace. That version, it got you here, but it can't take you there. And deep down, you already know it. You felt the pull, the whisper in your soul that says, it's time to become someone you've never been, to live a life you've never had. Let's break this down with a simple truth. Identity drives behavior. If you keep identifying as the people pleaser, the overthinker, the nice guy, the anxious one, you'll keep acting like it. You'll keep creating a life that aligns with that identity even when it no longer serves you. That's why most change doesn't stick. Because people try to change their habits before they change their identity. But your habits follow your beliefs. Your discipline follows your definition of who you are. So let me ask you, who are you still being that's no longer true? Are you still living as the version of you that was shaped by survival, by old environments, by broken relationships? If so, I want you to know something. That version of you deserves your love, but not your loyalty. They got you here. They kept you safe. But now it's time to outgrow them, because safety is not the same as purpose. Comfort is not the same as growth. Familiarity is not the same as destiny. Here's what I've learned. Every new level of life comes with a new level of responsibility, and that begins with self-renewal. You want peace? You have to stop entertaining chaos. You want alignment? You have to stop bending for approval. You want depth? You have to leave behind shallow connections. You want expansion? You have to shed your excuses. It's not just about adding better habits. It's about removing the parts of you that are no longer in harmony with your highest self. That's the real inner work. Not just doing more, but becoming different. Here's a framework I use personally when I feel stuck at the edge of a new level. N, identity audit. Ask yourself, what parts of my personality are habits, not truth? Maybe you're not bad at boundaries. Maybe you were just raised to feel guilty for saying no. Maybe you're not lazy. Maybe your nervous system has been in survival mode for so long, it's exhausted. Separate your patterns from your essence. 2. Future self-visualization. Close your eyes and imagine, who is the version of you who already lives the life you desire? How does that person speak? What do they say no to? How do they start their day? What boundaries do they hold? What do they no longer tolerate? Now come back to the present and start acting like them today. You don't wait to feel ready. You become ready through action. 3. The identity shift statement. Write this down. I am no longer available for because I am becoming. Examples. I am no longer available for passive relationships because I am becoming someone who values emotional depth. I am no longer available for self-sabotage because I am becoming someone who honors their potential. I am no longer available for playing small because I am becoming someone who walks boldly in purpose. Keep saying it until you believe it. Keep believing it until you embody it. Here's the thing most people don't realize. Your next level isn't about adding more. It's about subtracting what no longer fits. It's about saying, that version of me was necessary, but I'm done. That story was real, but it's not the whole truth. That habit made sense, but it's holding me back now. You can't keep rehearsing the pain of your past and still expect to feel joy in your present. You can't keep speaking the language of fear and expect to walk into a life led by courage. You have to burn the script of who you were told to be so you can write the story of who you were born to become. Let me leave you with this. You don't need more time. You don't need more advice. You don't need more validation. You need one thing: permission, not from the world, not from your parents, not from your past, from you. Permission to evolve, permission to grow, permission to walk away from the outdated version of yourself. Because your next level, it's not waiting on circumstances to change. It's waiting on you.